Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander, National Sales Manager, for the year winner. And this is Rob Johnson.
I can't even introduce myself anymore.
No, I've just taken over your role completely, haven't I?
There's really not much left for me to do now, is there? It's your
The
floor of the year. I heard the music too. As soon as you said floor of the year,
yeah,
I heard the music.
Well, last time I got mad at you because you spoke longer than you ever have. So
I know. Yeah.
So now I'm taking intros away from you altogether.
I heard that you were looking for a replacement for me.
That's just a rumor.
People in the company.
Absolutely not. I was not looking for replacement. I said I could do it on my own.
Rob Johnson from Bona Training.
How we doing, Rob?
Pretty good, Wayne. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. We have a special guest appearance with us today. We're going to talk to Mike Betts. Mike Betts owns All American Hardwood out of Nashville, Tennessee, one of the hottest places in the country right now. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great, sir. Living the dream.
Good to have you on. Living the LTD.
There you go.
Living the dream. Well, Mike, I want you to tell us a little bit about your background. And before you do, I'm going to tell everybody why I wanted to have Mike on. I met Mike about 7 years ago in Nashville. He does a lot of really high-end homes and what have you. And every time I talked to him, I felt like I was talking to Zig Ziglar. I learned something every time I talked to him. So I thought, man, this guy's got a lot of knowledge here we can talk about. So, Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background before we get started?
Okay. Didn't grow up in the business. Got out of college, coached college football for a while, worked for a couple Fortune 500 companies. Grew up in Detroit in the repo business and was a private investigator at one time. And buddy of mine owned a carpet store, and we went to lunch one day, and he asked me about getting in the hardwood flooring business, and I told him I'd check it out and decided I'd give it a shot, and kept working my other jobs and went to a 4-day school and went to work.
What did you run a 40-year in high school?
The best the pros have me is about a 4.52.
Yeah, you had a hell of a high school football career. Defensive back?
Yeah, that was in college. I was a running back in high school.
I'll be darned. Yeah.
Being in the hardwood flooring business, being fast is a benefit in case you got to get away.
Well, Mike, you've been how long you been in the Nashville market?
31 years.
I suspect you've seen a few changes over the last few years.
Well, we talked about that, and I have seen a lot of things change. And part of the change, I think, is that I've changed of how I went into business, because I learned by trial and error for the first 25 years. And then finally, I started to model and read and get a little bit sharper with things and realizing what business I was really in.
Which is?
I'm actually in the people business. I just do hardwood floors.
Yep. You have an interesting take on how you do business, and one of the things we talk about quite often is your market and how do you know your price right for the market and what have you. And so maybe we can talk a little bit about that, Mike.
Okay. As far as pricing in the market, you're always guessing low. You're worried about everybody else. And I always looked at a floor. I said, okay, if myself and XYZ company are bidding on a job and our work is equal or the same, what's going to be the difference? That's going to be the person selling the job and talking to the people. And trust is a new currency. It's been around for about 10 years. So in a 20 to 30 minute to 45-minute meeting with the client, you got to gain their trust and make them want to do business with you. And you just got to find out how to connect. Like I said, if I'm going into someone's house, ideally, I want to walk through the garage, into the kitchen. And if I can get into an office or something, I want to go through those areas. In the garage, I'm going to find out what kind of hobbies they have. In the house, if they got another bid, a business card is going to be sitting on the counter. In the office is going to be the books and what he's interested in. And what I'm trying to do is find something that I'm interested in and he's interested in, and try to connect on a personal level. And just like I said, living the dream. When someone asks me, how's my day going? I always say, living the dream. I have clients that have been with me 10 years and they'll call me back, and I hadn't heard from them in 8 years. Hey, Mike, you still living the dream? Always. I just try to connect with people and make them want to do business with you, and let them know that I care about what they're doing. And I want the job, but I also want the job they're going to refer me to.
Yeah. Yeah, I've said before, if I get the job from someone and the job is successful and they pay me and everything, but I don't get a referral off of that job, then in my mind that job's a bust. I mean, we do these jobs for the referrals.
Well, the first question I ask somebody when they call me wanting to come look at it is, how did you hear about me? I don't do social media. I don't advertise. I have a website that doesn't have a phone number connected to it. If they want to try to find my phone number, they can. But I'm sending people to the website just to look at the pictures and my referrals and some of the stuff that we've done. So I'm basically chasing people right now. But after 31 years, I got a lot of people out there that I've worked for. So most of my stuff is referral work.
So it's interesting because in this day and age of social media, where people can't get enough out there about their business, and they're like constantly trying to get more content out, trying to get more likes and trying to get more hits, and trying to get more people coming to their site. You don't care in the slightest about that. You have zero pretty much.
Not at all. Yeah, I don't have zero. I got 2%, but you know, most of the people, what I learned a long time ago is I love to sell one person, but I'd rather sell people that influence other people. I do real estate meetings and stuff like that. And once I get into a real estate meeting, I'm going to get 20 or 30 real estate agents. And what I try to do is educate them. And then I'm their go-to guy when there's a problem or there's a new house or something. And I just like somebody to refer me. On referrals, I close 90%. On non-referrals, about 55%, just a little over half. But about 90% of what I get are all referral calls.
What do you mean real estate meetings? You belong to
No, if you got
an association?
No, there is whenever I got a real estate agent out there with me, I ask her who she works for or him, and they tell me, I say, get me into one of your Tuesday morning meetings. Because every Tuesday morning they have a meeting and someone comes in and they do continuing education. And the first one I got probably 15, 20 years ago, I was actually drying a house out that had gotten wet. We were doing restoration, then refinishing the floors. I said, get me into one of your meetings. So they had me scheduled for a Thursday or Tuesday morning, like 5 or 6 weeks from when we talked. Well, all of a sudden, Monday evening at 6 o'clock, I get a call, said, hey, can you do our meeting tomorrow morning at 7? Of course, like a knucklehead, I said, sure. So I get my assistant, we go get some muffins and coffee and grab a couple pieces of hardwood, and I get up in front of some people with 5 bullet points and start talking. Well, I talked for about 20 minutes and I was in there for an hour and a half. They started asking questions and I just started answering them. I said, real estate people, you guys are looking at floors wrong. That if you say engineered or pre-finished, people think it's bad. I said, every hardwood floor has an advantage. It could be price, could be look, could be sandability. So once I got into those, now those people now have pushed me on to interior decorators and other people like that.
So you've done, I know you don't talk about who your clients are, but I know that you've worked for like a who's who in the country music industry. And I don't want to put you on the spot if you have any ins, but Rob does a hell of a Jack Daniels, Charlie Daniels with Jack. After a few Jack Daniels, he does a pretty good Charlie Daniels.
I can't drink Jack Daniels anymore. I became allergic to it when I'm back in high school.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get violently ill when I drink it.
Rob's written a song or two, and I thought maybe you have some kind of pull you know, that maybe you could get them an in somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure if you'll give me a demo tape or something, I can get somebody to listen to it.
It's on the way.
Okay, good.
I
So-
didn't know you had that much pull, Mike. I'd have been a lot nicer to you.
I don't have a lot of pull. I got a lot of people in Nashville fooled that they think I'm the best in town. And like I always tell them, we got a little town outside of Nashville called Smyrna. And I said, well, I might be the best in town, but that's like saying I'm the tallest building in Smyrna. It's true, but it's not a great accomplishment. We got a mom and pop market, and it's getting better. It's growing fast. You know, and the biggest thing is it's changing so fast, it's harder for a lot of people to keep up. And all the different finishes. Bona has been a blessing for us because that's about all I use. And but like I say, it's you know, it's changing, and it's hard to keep up for some people. I always want to keep up. I never want to not change, because change is inevitable. It's going to happen. And you either know what they're talking about, do what they want, or they're going to move on to somebody else.
Well, you've said something before, and I'm talking like anybody else that has a business, you wear a lot of hats, right? I mean, you have to go buy jobs and make sure jobs are on time and on schedule and all these different things. And, you know, so you've got probably 10 different hats you wear at least. But you excel at selling your jobs. You've got a lot of knowledge. It comes through. You're very genuine. You've been around a long time. You know your way around an estimate is good or better than anybody. So it occurred to me, and we talked about this before, is that when you're doing other things, when you're on job sites, walking a job, you know, with your guys, or you're out on a job and, you know, seeing how the guys are doing, you're losing money, right? I mean, for a business owner, you make your money if you're out selling.
If I'm in front of a client, yes, sir.
So that's how do you delegate when that's the case? Because, you know, I'm a control freak, and part of my thing is I want to make sure, even though I trust my guys, I don't, you know, I want to be on job, seeing exactly what we're doing. I want to be in the job myself. I mean, I installed myself as well as running the company, and I stand in whatever, but that's not where you make your money as an owner. If you know, with the skill set that you have, especially, I mean, you're a very accomplished salesman. So how do you juggle that?
Well, you got to trust your people. And it's just like I tell my guys, the only things that's important on a hardwood floor, after you said the work site is okay to work with, are the edges. All of our problems are going to be on the edges. The middle is easy to do. It's how do I transition to tile? How do I transition to carpet? How do I stain this room out? And we got another big door, and we got to come back and then start staining over here. You just delegate, and my guys have been with me long enough. I got 3 or 4 guys been with me 18 to 25 years, and they know what's expected. It's not hard. You just got to get in the process. And over the years, I've made enough mistakes that if we follow the process and just work out, it usually takes care of itself. So as far as knowing what to do, it's pretty simple. Once you give a green light to the job site, as far as installing, as far as moisture and whether it's level or not, and on the sand and finish, as long as you got power, you realize what you're doing, and people using the right grits of sandpaper and coating and getting the right coverages, just get out of the way and let your guys make money for themselves and for the company. I made mistakes. I got to let my people make some mistakes. I just don't want to be big mistakes.
Yeah.
It's like I tell my guys, is that, fellas, if we're going to fail on this job, I want to fail fast. I don't want to work 3 weeks on a job and get done and realize we failed. I want to find out in the first 3 days if everything we're doing is going to work.
Well, you do a lot of custom stuff. You do a really lot of custom stain work, and I know you do a lot of hand scrapes and you see in the more, what trends are you seeing more in Nashville? I mean, when I first came to Nashville 7 years ago, if you look at what the guys were installing, you look in the warehouse, everything was 2 1/4 inch strip.
Yeah.
It's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah. Right now, 4-inch character grade or number one is big. European oak is big right now. The wider, the better. A lot of the natural seal and Nordic seals combined, that's big. Classic seal, I'm still seeing some classic seals. In fact, I'm doing one tomorrow. We're setting up, look at classic seal. Biggest thing is we went from dark to light. And when you change dark to light, that actually creates a whole nother set of problems that you're used to not having with a dark floor. Dark floors, you can have little shrinkage if you put a floor in and it's 11%, and then they got gas heat and it shrinks a little bit. On a dark floor, when you get a little crack, or on a girder, you get a bigger crack, it almost hides itself. On these light floors right now, oh Lord, you're in trouble. And don't think you can put new parquet in next to old parquet and go light on it. Trust me, that just cost me about $7,000 because we had to tear it all out and start over. But you just live and learn and just keep going. And a lot of people are, there's a lot of good customers and great customers out there. It just depends how you treat them. If you care about them, they're going to care about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in your office one time and I took a picture of that sign, and I've told you this a million times. That is just my favorite sign. I gave that picture to my son. In Mike's office, Wayne, he has, and you probably saw it, he has a sign, it's a triangle, and the triangle says, good, fast, and cheap. Pick two.
I have a lot of people, I said they want it good and they want it fast, ain't going to be cheap.
Yeah.
You know, and all of them work. The biggest thing is to make people understand that, you know, and just most of your problems come in what you don't ask before you start the job. Because hardwood's, finish is finish, subfloors are subfloors. If you don't get the expectation of your client right, I don't care what you do, it's not going to be good.
Well, and that's something we talk about a lot. The expectations are huge. And I think now more than ever, because there's more options than there were ever in the past. I think right now there's more ways to sand the floor. There's more communication. There's more internets all over the place. The customers have access to all kinds of information. So, I mean, expectations are huge right now.
Yeah.
You're in somebody's home, and you know how people are these days. I mean, everybody's everybody's got, their own advocate. They have no problem telling you, and they can be very that could be a rough conversation if them expectations aren't up front.
Well, if someone's got expectations, you got to bring them down and get them to reasonable, or if they don't, bid it real high and hope somebody else gets it.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with getting the job done the second time around, is there?
Yeah.
So over the last, tell me something that over the last 10 years that's really that's changed in the industry, that in your market, because your market is just blown up, absolutely blown up in Nashville right now. And then give me a rule that maybe you never break in business that you've learned over the years.
Okay, I'm going to give you what's changed. The biggest change in our market, and it has to do with sand and finish. We got away from oil bases that used to be about 95% of the business. I think I was the first person in Nashville to start using water base regularly, and everything used to be semi-gloss or gloss. You used to have to flood fill. Everything had to be perfect. They wanted to look across it. It looked like a piece of furniture. And then water base came along, and satin and matte. I mean, satin and matte, easy to coat. You want to see how good you can coat? Go do a water-based gloss or water-based semi-gloss. You see everything. The hand scrape floors, that was a gift from God right there, because now everybody, they're used to seeing a little bit. You can have some dish out and say, well, I'm not even going to charge you for that. But no, I'm kidding on that. But I'm saying the expectations have changed. It's not as much high-end polished furniture looking floors. It's a lot more, a lot less sheen. We get some, get textures now where you have wire brush floors and stuff like that. It's actually made it a lot easier on coding for us and doing things. And the other thing that, when I first got into business, I think we were charging $2 to sand and finish, and somebody wanted a water pop. It was $1 extra. I water pop everything. Water pop, it just makes it easier. The clients like it, and it makes a better job, and it lets me not be as detailed. I don't have to sand the job perfect. You can have a little buffer scratch in there. Water pop takes care of it. People love it. I mean, now it's kind of funny. I get a job and people say they don't want a water pop. My guys are all ducking their head and hoping they don't get that job.
Well, you have you've got a big warehouse that's attached to your building. And I've seen you guys do a lot of mock-ups when you're getting ready to do a big custom job. You put a lot of thought into these things, man, because before you bring it onto a custom job site, I've seen you put down boards and look at colors and play with different things and the knot holes and how you're going to fill them. And I mean, you spend a lot of time up front making sure you got everything right before you get it onto the job site. And I've come in there and seen you late at night, early in the morning, working on these things, trying to get them dialed in, using different techniques. And so I knew when I came across you that you live and breathe this, man. You really take this to heart. So it's no wonder you have the reputation that you do.
Well, I actually care about my customers. And I tell my guys, I said, fellas, if there's one thing that we can do that will make us successful, care. Just care about what your customers are doing. Treat your customers like their family. Never argue with, well, you ask what a rule, never argue with the customer.
Yeah.
I will try to educate, but if I'm going to argue and they owe me money, I learned in 5th grade when I was arguing with my parents about my allowance. I got sent to my room for 2 weeks and didn't get any allowance. So never argue with the person that's going to pay you. But as far as just care about them, do things, and anything you do, be sure you can defend it.
Yeah.
And as long as you do that, you're going to be all right. But I mean, I'm going to give you an example of just talking to people. I had a lady just moved here yesterday from Washington, D.C. And they're in a big fat house, 3.2 million. And we're just going in and scrubbing and redoing the floors. Well, she gets my name from interior decorator, which I supposedly know, but I can't remember. But they said we were supposed to be the best. So we go in there and do all this. And I talked to him on the phone twice and had one Zoom meeting with them, which this is my second Zoom meeting ever. And I talked to the girl and her husband. They come in, I go over to meet them and told them I was going to bring a cleaning kit over and just look at everything. And, she's from Washington, D.C. She grew up in Washington, D.C. Nicest lady in the world. Husband, nicest. Kids were great. And I told her, this was yesterday. She paid me, and she tried to pay me an extra $1,000. I had to correct her. I said, no. You just told me this amount. But if you want to give that to me, I'll take it. Mm-hmm. But when we get done, I say, if you got any problem with knowing what cleaners to go, where to go to get a car worked on or anything, just call me and just let me know.
Yeah.
She calls me today wanting to know what kind of vacuum cleaner they should buy because theirs just quit. And I got lucky, and I'd had a couple and had just bought some for my house in the last 6 or 8 months. And I told her which I thought was the best one. I saw a lot of my clients with it, and I really liked it. I said, it's expensive. It's like $700, but the only time you'll regret it is when you pay for it, because both of mine have been great. I got a lady from out of town calling me about buying a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
That lady remembers my name, and she's going to pass it on to somebody. And you know what it cost me? Just being nice.
Yeah.
And doing what I said I was going to do.
Well, you started at the beginning of this show talking about trust, and that's what it all comes down to. You also said something interesting to me one time, that your guys should introduce themselves when they come into a job. So they're not just some guy who happens to be on a job. Can you explain that? What do you mean by that?
Well, it's like I tell my guys, over the years, I would get people when the install guys or sand and finish guys would do something wrong. I'd have a client call me and say, hey, your install guys left this, or your sand and finish guys left this. And after a little while, I got to thinking, I said, fellas, no one's ever called in here and used somebody by name. No one's ever called and said, hey, Brad did this, or David did this, or Corey did this. I said, be sure they know your name, because only 5% of the people will complain about mediocre work. The bad thing about that is every time I get one, that means there are 19 others that wanted to say something. But when my guys become people and personalities and talk to them and pull the garbage can up when they pull in and act like they care and do a good job, no one ever calls and says anything unless it's something bad. If something breaks, they're going to call me. But I never get a call. I said, when you go in, fellas, be sure they know their name. Talk to them. If they got a UT sign on the wall and you go to UT or something, talk to them. Just make them a person, so it makes you a person. And that has always served us well.
To illustrate that, and a lot of people don't tip the maids that come in and clean the room, or house cleaning that cleans the room in the hotel. Rob and I stay in hotels all the time. We talk about this. I tip the housekeepers, and Rob does too. Most people don't, but I think most people don't because they don't know. It's like a nameless, faceless person comes in there and cleans your room. But if you knew it was Linda that had 3 kids, you know what I mean, and that was more personal, I think more people would tip the housekeeping. So I think that's a very valid point. If you're just some floor guy that comes there and they're just some guy that comes in, whatever, they don't know anything about you, whatever. Not that, here's the other thing too. Don't get me wrong. I don't want my guys in depth conversations. We're there to work.
Yeah.
And I don't want them, I've said before that we are perceived to be experts in this one box, this little box right here called hardwood floors. If we start getting outside that box, there's a chance of getting into trouble. There's conversations that come up that maybe you don't belong in. But to know your name and that you care, and this is, I think it does make it more personal, and it does go a long way. And all it really does is it puts more things on your side of the equation. If there happens to be a miscommunication or something, or expectations, if it's just one more thing that you put on your side of the equation when it comes down to it, if you know what I mean, at the end of the job, whether they're going to be pleased with the job or not pleased with the job. So I know a guy that was a pretty average floor guy. His work wasn't really that really top notch, but everybody loved the guy. You know what I mean? He was so nice and engaging and human and caring and everything, that I think he probably got paid on a lot of jobs that he would have struggled with if he had a different personality. So I do think there's a lot to that, Mike.
Did you talk to a bunch of my customers? Is that where you got that from?
I was like kind of going like this,
Yeah,
that guy. Yeah.
The guy in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's been the story of my life. That's how I got through school too.
Yeah. A lot to be said for that.
He sits there like a bump in a log, but what a sweet kid.
But he's harmless. Yeah.
Mike, something's burning me up. You said you're a private investigator, and everybody knows that I'm a policeman at heart. I got to hear a little bit more of the private investigating.
Let's see.
Bad marriages, is that what you're going for, or was it?
Yeah, I had bad marriages. I had work comp cases, and
catching people.
Yeah, let's put it like this. One of the best ones I had a guy was on full disability. I got him in his garage working on his car, putting a motor in it, and we're shooting him from down the street. He's moving the motor and lifting everything, and a few minutes he goes out to the mailbox after the mail runs and gets his disability check. And he's jumping up and down, and I'm going, what a knucklehead. But yeah, I've been I've done marriages. I've been shot at a couple times. Some people try to put me in a trunk, but it's all good. You know, those are good reference points in life. When things are going bad, at least he doesn't have a gun on me and a trunk open. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say that about, well, at least I'm not scraping under a radiator, but that's even better. At least I'm not.
So now you're going to bring up the maple floors where you had to scrape under that radiator and set all those nails?
Mike, you undercover guys, you wouldn't follow a guy out in a bass boat out into a lake, would you? You wouldn't be that low, would you?
No, I would get somebody else, but yeah.
Okay. All right.
No.
Well, there goes that.
No,
There
no,
goes my plan B.
One of my friends got into it, and when she got divorced, they actually did a movie about her on Lifetime about 10 years ago. And I kind of got hooked up with her and started doing it. It wasn't bad. I was back in the repo business and doing that. That's what I was doing when I started the hardwood floor business. I would do that through the week, then get up Friday afternoon, go work till late, then go work on Saturday till 1 or 2 in the morning on Sunday, and then go back and do that. I did that for about a year, and then I did the hardwood floors. And I had a 2-year period. I worked every day. Christmas, Thanksgiving, I'd work for 5 or 6 hours. But that's just what you had to do back then. You know, I've said, okay, I'm not smarter than anybody, so I got to outwork everybody.
Well, let me ask you this, Mike. I mean, compared to when you first started off doing floors, what to now, how healthy is the market now? I mean, is it easier to do floors now? Is it a better life doing floors now, or was it years ago back when you started?
No, it's better now. I mean, I remember when we got into the market, I think only 8 or 9% of the floor surfaces were hardwood, and now I'm not sure where we're at, but it keeps going up. Houses are getting bigger. I'm lucky. I'm in a market. I got a 20-mile by 30-mile swath of cities that half the houses are over $1 million, and now $1 million is not that big of a house in Nashville right now.
Wow.
But there's a lot more people understanding, and more people want something. I love people when I get in there, interior decorator, and we do a trendy color or a trendy finish. I said, man, I love you guys. Why is that? I said, because normally I revisit my clients every 12 to 15 years. This is trendy. I'm going to be back in 5 because you guys got the money to redo this.
Yep.
But it's selling hardwood floors, being in this business is great. It's like playing golf. It's a game, and you're dealing with people. I love the people I meet. I love the places I get to go work, and I love to get done at the end and look at a job and say, man, this is great. Or for somebody else to tell you that you did a great job. And I said, well, my guys did a great job. I just sold you.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest thing about the market right now is there's no labor.
Yeah.
A lot of my labor now is foreign labor, and I sub out a lot of stuff, but those guys can do the work. You just got to head them in the right direction. Now,
Well, let me give you my last question for you then. When it's all said and done, and you've done your last floor job, what do you want them to remember you by?
that I did what I said I was going to do, because that's one of the biggest things that I see in my business is someone tells somebody they're going to be someplace, and then hey man, my truck broke down, or my brother had to go to the hospital. I said, fellas, this is a business. Your personal life, if you got a truck that's going to break down, you need to go rent a van like I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I had one big job about 10, 12 years ago. We finished on a Friday, and all of a sudden the people came in and they said, well, there's supposed to be Brazilian cherry in this office, and we're opening on Tuesday, and we're on television on Tuesday. I said, there was no Brazilian cherry in town. We got in a truck. I got somebody at the mill. We drove to North Carolina, paid the guy $200 coming on a Saturday, load 300 feet of wood up, got back, put it in, and we opened. I did what I said I was going to do.
Yeah. Well, it gets back to the again the theme of trust. You know, your name is on those jobs, and that's why you don't advertise, and that's why you don't do a lot of social media. And so yeah, man, Mike, it's been great talking to you. If you can work in that plug for Rob Johnson on that country music theme, I really think he's got a hit. He's had a sad life.
Well, you know what? I think, Rob, I tell you what, I'll give you a title and you kind of get the words, because I've worked on this title.
All right.
I'm going to get a circle drive so I can drive around and wave goodbye. That's all I got.
That's a hit.
There you
I'm
go.
gonna get a circle drive.
So I can drive around and wave goodbye.
All right. So I'll put it to music.
I'm gonna work on that. Drive around.
I'll break out the mandolin.
Say goodbye.
All right, Mike. Hey, Mike, I appreciate you taking the time, man. I know you're busy, so for you to take the time means a lot to us, and I appreciate it. And we'll see you down the road.
Hey, Wayne, I got to tell everybody one thing. I have a lot of people say, why do I use Bona water base? And I have to tell a lot of people, listen, I don't put the most expensive finish on your floor for my benefit. And that's how much I believe in it. I say, this probably cost me some jobs, but if you want to take care of your floors, this is the product to use. And I'll expect my check next week for saying that. No.
Well, I appreciate that, Mike. And it goes along with the quality that you sell. And that's why you're in these high-end homes, man. That's why you're working for the clientele that you work for. So,
well, you know, what's great is when Rob comes in here and teaches, I learn everything I walk through when he's in there teaching something. It's amazing. You think you know everything, and you know about, you know, most things, but there's some little details that save your life. And he's had a couple in there that really helped me out. So I know he hadn't talked much on this episode because I've been running my mouth, but he does a great job teaching because I've watched it.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I'm going to take another nugget away from you. I can't wait to use this one. The middles are easy when you're doing floors. The middles are easy. It's all about the edges. Oh, that's awesome. That's a nugget, man. That's gold.
Okay, well, just if you patent that or whatever, trademark it, just be sure I get my 10%. We're good.
You got it, brother.
All right, guys.
Mike, the reason why he hasn't talked a lot because he went over his quota talking on the last episode.
Oh, he did?
So we had to pare him down this much. So, Mike,
we've done 100 episodes, Mike, and I've talked maybe through 4. And my God, Wayne lost it on me the other day. I really thought I was getting the boot on this one.
So when is this going to air? Because I need to get my buddies in the car and be driving around so I can just turn this on. Oh, what is this? This is great.
Well, if I lose the bet, we are going to air it. So it'll probably be a week or two. We'll let you know.
You're all good, guys. Thanks.
Until then, Mike, LTD, man. Live the dream.
Be good.
Take care. And this has been another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. Please stay tuned for another episode.